Welcome back. Today we are going to be discussing the many sexualities that exist in the world today. I might mock a few, there is a chance of it, but I genuinely want to discuss sexuality with this delightful fellow with the yellow eyes. I love your contacts. No jokes, I love them. Now before we get into that, I would like to quickly cover something. In a recent video, Dave Cullum mentioned getting a video permanently demonetized. Well, I have been hit with the same problem. The video in question is called Victim Denied Compensation, and I'm granting consent to anyone to mirror that video. I'm not so much interested in making money from it, but the fact it was permanently demonetized was interesting, nonetheless. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, I'm going to need a sandwich. Oh, sandwich wench.
What kind of a girl can say no to a tentacle monster? First, let's get a bit of bread out there. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just has to be nice and tasty and look good.
I have this strange feeling Toglin is going to take forever to make this, so we're going to come back to you later, but I'm expecting perfection. Anyway, Yellow Eyes, take it away.
So a few months ago, I did a video on different types of genders. Now, one of the most requested things since then was to do one on different types of sexualities.
I had given it some serious consideration as to whether or not I would address your video on gender that had been covered by a couple of other content creators, or to address this video. Now, as the subject of gender is certainly one that gets mocked quite regularly, with gender expression, genderqueer, gender fluid, and all the Tumblr genders taking the brunt of it, I felt sexuality would allow me the opportunity to dive into something I'm not as familiar with. That, and I flipped a coin. Heads for this, tails for that. I forgot it was a double-headed coin.
So today I'm here to do a little list and explain some different sexualities and give you some information. I'm also going to learn a few things on this as well, so I'm pretty sure I'm not going to know everyone myself, so this will be interesting.
This will be fascinating. As I am only familiar with 3 sexualities, I think we can both learn something here. I do wonder how many sexualities, though, are related to genders that do not exist, and would those then be rendered moot?
First 3 I'll quickly skim through, as you probably know all these by now.
Yeah, they're pretty boring. So let's go through those quickly.
Heterosexual is someone who, fancies and is attracted to someone of the opposite gender.
If we are going to be specific, it's opposite sex. If social media is anything to go by, gender is a very different discussion.
Bisexuality is people who like 2 genders, such as male and female.
Which, as far as I'm aware, is the I love both genders, i.e. everyone's sexuality. But as I'm here to learn, let's pretend there is more to this.
And then homosexuality, which is what I am, who likes someone of the same sex.
I was about to correct you, but you got it right this time. Nice one, mate.
Pansexual. Pansexuality is people who are attracted to everyone regardless of their gender expression, how they identify. So, you like people who are male, female, non-binary, genderqueer, gender fluid, all that kind of stuff. You like everyone regardless of their gender and expression.
I thought this was pansexual.
Yeah, you're nutty.
I know, cheap joke, but it does amuse me. Now, in all seriousness, I had often regarded pansexual as an embellishment to bisexual, like adding more to what was already there, especially as there are only 2 genders. I wonder if anyone is triggered by that yet. Now, this all aside, I am a little confused with your description of pansexual, in that you explain how gender and expression relate to one's attraction to all, but for this to make sense, you'd surely not want to add gender to it. I personally think adding gender expression just adds to the confusion to this already messy gender sexuality subject. I also find it hard to believe that any one person can find every single person attractive, but I am saying that as a boring heterosexual Cthulhukin, so what do I know?
Demisexual. Now, demisexuality to me is I've got 2 mindsets over this. I do identify as demisexual and gay.
Is it possible to have 2 sexualities? I should probably take notes for this.
Because demisexuality is someone who is attracted to an emotional connection, and you can only be with people if you're really emotionally connected to someone.
That's right. I actually asked somebody that used to identify as demisexual to explain this to me. Now, they shortened it down to no love, no horny. That there is poetry. Is it wrong that I feel demisexual doesn't really need to exist then? I get that sexuality can be somewhat fluid, but to tie to a somewhat societal norm seems weird to me. And yes, I am very much aware of hookup culture and the desire to be picky in dating. I spent enough time bouncing this off Little Miss Anonymous to discover that my original views did not hold up to her intense scrutiny, bitch. Oh, and to clarify, I consider being picky to be a societal norm, so demisexual seems like that to me at first glance. I think I've gotten off track here, and haven't checked in on my Sammich wench. How you doing, Toglin?
We have our first slice of bread. It's a little transparent, but I can definitely fix that.
Nice, we'll get back to her later. Now back to you, Yellow Eyes. How would you describe demisexual?
I identify as a gay demisexual because I can only be with men because I'm only attracted to men. However, I can only be with them also as if I have like an actual emotional connection with them. Like I can date someone or whatever, but to actually sleep with them and like be attracted like sexually to them, I have to have an emotional connection with them also.
This makes demisexual sound less like a sexuality and more like a codependency. Also, I really hope the person you are dating that isn't going to get the D knows they are not going to get the D. I can't be the only person that thinks the need to separate attraction required for sex and dating with no possibility of sex is a bit, well, pointless really, but this could just be my cynicism flaring up.
But if you identify as demisexual as a whole, so it's almost a bit like pansexuality where you can be attracted to anyone, but you have to have like an emotional connection to them.
Based on what you said, this only applies if sex is involved, otherwise it is irrelevant.
Asexual. So people who are asexual is someone who doesn't have any sexual attraction to anyone. Like they don't have any real sexual desire, they don't have any desire to want to be like loved or like, maybe not loved, but love someone. Like you just don't have a desire to be with someone.
Yeah, we just call them MGTOW. Much simpler, really. Not truly inclusive of WGTOW or crazy cat ladies, but MGTOW nonetheless.
For a long time, I did think this was me because I was so happy being on my own and I didn't really have that desire to be with anyone, but like then I realized how much I love men, so...
Yeah, this is one of those warning signs that someone is overcomplicating their life with worthless labels. If you want to be alone, be alone. It is not a sexuality to isolate yourself from partnering up. It's not like a job interview and you're trying to explain gaps in your employment, or in this case, dating history.
Genisexual? I think that's how you say it. Gynasexual, genisexual, I'm not sure. That'll be a word anyway. So this is people who are attracted to females or really effeminate men.
What you have just described is bisexual with a preference for those with more feminine qualities. I don't really see how that is sexuality all on its own.
So it's more like you're attracted to the femininity rather than the actual like, you know, what's downstairs. So I'm pretty sure I will find a opposite counterpart to that.
I have no doubt you will. Now, I want to briefly touch on a discussion again with Little Miss Anonymous. She pointed out to me that the concept of gynasexual is not entirely pointless if you're looking for a mate, and she has a point. When we are looking to settle down or simply be with someone or a group of someone, we want to make sure that we are with the optimum mate or mates, so we should be, like earlier mentioned, picky. My argument is simply, does this need a standalone label though? I'm not the best at arguing against someone that has all the cookies though. And she has all the cookies.
Polyamorous. Now, this is someone who, like, can fall in love with someone, but also can fall in love with another person at the same time. Now, for me, if I love someone, it's going to be really difficult for me to actually find anyone else attractive. Like, once I'm in, like, really into someone, that's it. Like, everyone else sort of goes off my radar.
I'm not cutting in here to correct, but I am going to check up on my Sammich wench.
Mm-hmm.
Looking good. Back to polyamorous. When this gentleman has finished explaining this, I will explain how I have in the past and currently perceive poly relationships.
But people who are polyamorous have that feeling of, like, they can be really in love with someone, but they can also find someone else they're attractive and fall in love with someone else and want them both. It's almost like having an open relationship, but like it's almost like they can't control it as such. Like, you can choose to have an open relationship, but like people who are polyamorous is someone who is, like, it's not a choice that they sort of want to have more than one partner.
The subject of love and feeling or experiencing it towards one or multiple partners is very complex, but my take on it is simply, if you want to be in a multiple partner relationship, then do it. If you are in love with more than one person, great. I've no doubt some might say, but surely you contradict yourself for judging other sexualities, but not this one. And there is a possibility of that. I just never understood how poly relationships were always frowned upon when they feature so heavily in our history. This also brings up the subject of whether or not the government should play a part on marriage or in marriage, i.e. make it illegal for poly marriages to be a thing. Personally, I don't see a valid reason to make it illegal within our own cultures. Yes, I'm aware of other cultures and societal behaviours being less than favourable with poly marriages. We can't all be Genobulan after all. So for me, excluding those that do not know they are in a poly relationship, including those that we should just call illegal and cheating, it should be legal and maybe regulated to an extent. I don't know. I may need more time on this thought though.
I don't know how to pronounce this one. Skilosexual.
I think it's scoliosexual. To be honest though, I'm not entirely sure either.
So the description is attracted to genderqueer and expressions.
Genderqueer and expressions. So nonsense then. That's far simpler really. I mean, attraction to retardation should be illegal, shouldn't it? I do wonder if I play some random expressions, will that get someone off in my comment section? Do let me know if this...
Kill yourself! Do it!
...gets you off.
So someone who likes, non-binary people, like genderqueer, like real sort of mix of the genders. People who don't fit like the binary gender.
Yeah, non-binary confirmed my earlier sarcasm.
Androsexual, attraction to men, males, or masculinity.
Ooh, a toxic sexuality. We should definitely seek out all androsexuals and exterminate. Oh, wait. It's people attracted to them. They need re-educating then. We can't promote a classic masculinity with a sexuality.
So I guess these people would find masculine females attractive?
No.
Now on the other sexuality, it did say like females and feminine men. So I'm assuming this would be like masculinity rather than men itself. So if it's not right, comment down below, but it seems weird that on the other one it would say, femininity and feminine males.
According to a few websites, this definition seems to be accurate. An androsexual is someone who has sexual feelings towards males. Androsexual is usually used by genderqueer individuals, as heterosexual or homosexual doesn't necessarily apply to them, since their genders may not necessarily have opposites. It is also commonly used to specify the attraction to anyone who is male-gendered as well. The word is derived from blah blah blah. Once these gender elements are added, the sexuality loses all meaning. If the website you are taking the definition from doesn't specify and it is a credible source, then trust it for not being inclusive and totally bigoted.
Autosexual. Now, I've never heard about this before, and it says here, the feeling of attraction only towards oneself. I mean...
I thought this was autosexual.
Tá bom aí, doido?
You don't need a sexuality for loving thyself. You really don't. Could you imagine telling someone that you're in love with yourself? Hilarious. You are either incredibly vain or a chronic masturbator. When you first mentioned this and I was writing stuff up for this video, I had wondered if it counted as incest to go out of your way to fuck yourself, but then realised once I sobered up that it's just masturbation. Although I do wonder if it's incest if you marry yourself. I need to stop before I go too far down this rabbit hole. So instead, let's check on Toglin.
Bit of peanut butter onto the bread. I think you need some jelly. What kind of jelly should we add? Ooh, that looks like blood jelly.
Looking good. Keep it up. Yeah, that says everything.
QPO. Now again, I've never heard this before. The feeling of having no sexual attraction towards any gender, yet still desiring a sexual or romantic relationship.
I'm not entirely sure how many more of these I can do before my brain pops. To me, this is utterly nuts. How can you not desire anyone but want a sexual romantic relationship? That's kind of like asexual and sexual. Oh, my brain hurts.
Now that must be really difficult to deal with, because it's not like an asexual who doesn't have any sexual desire. Like, these people want to have a desire to be with someone, yet feel no attraction to someone. That must be like really difficult and really sort of like mind screwing.
Oh, they want to have the desire. This is mind screwing, you're right. Next.
Now this one just says Frey. Is it Frey sexual? I don't know, it just says Frey on its own.
I thought that was a band or a type of tear, like the one in my head at the moment.
Only experiencing attraction towards those you are less familiar with. The feeling is lost when you become closer or more familiar.
That sounds like a long-term marriage to me.
Now, funnily, I know someone who is like this. I didn't know there was an actual term for it. I thought it was just just a thing. I didn't know there was an actual term. So he can only be with someone for a short amount of time, and then as like any sort of real connection becomes like between them, he gets less and less attracted to the other person.
Yes, because he is a slut that wants to pump and dump. Why add personality to a sexual desire to fuck and walk away? By the way, this is not a sexuality. This is a person that we would call, like earlier mentioned, a slut, bike, hoe, player. Feel free to choose one. They don't care for the person, they treat the person like an object, a sex object. I think in this instance, this falls into the bracket of male privilege or patriarchy.
Heteroflexible. So this is someone who is like primarily straight, but will now like time to time will have an attraction to someone of like the other gender.
I really hope you understand I'm not attacking you, but those sexualities are getting more and more absurd. This one can simply be boiled down to being bi-curious at best.
I guess this is what a lot of people like. There's a lot of things on like the internet of like why straight men get other guys to give them blowjobs and stuff.
We surf in very different corners of the internet, my friend.
Sapiosexual. Sapio? I don't know how to say it, I'm sorry. A sexual orientation where the primary feature that ones find attractive is intelligence rather than their body.
Is it wrong that the first thing I thought was, if it's possible to body shame, is it equally possible to mind shame in relationships? The first time I listened to this, I clearly took this one the wrong way. Finding brains attractive is quite nice, but I get the feeling this is an embellishment to bisexual again, but with the removal of the gender element. Or maybe it's like aromantic asexual. You see what you've done to me? You've made me start to overthink this. It's maddening.
So, like, is this people who find, like, regardless of their gender or expression, like, they find your intelligence attractive and they're more, like, attracted to that? Now, that is actually really interesting. I've never heard of that before.
Okay, before we finish this, I want to see how my Sammich turned out.
Oh, look, it's a happy sandwich. Now, that way, when my Lovecraftian overlord devours it, it can scream in pain.
That looks nice. Thank you very much, Toglin. Please go subscribe. And thank you all for listening.